Hi, I want to give you a summary of a full-blown research that was done on hundreds of married couples over a course of 30 years done by Dr. John Goodman. Now, in this study, the researchers found what makes a long-term relationship work and what actually makes it fail by focusing on the success and failure of married couples. They called the successful marriages the masters, and the ones that ended up divorced or simply together and unhappy, the disasters. The masters ended up getting better relationships and their connection got stronger, while the disasters just made each other miserable until the relationship had to end or, again, live unhappy together, just like so many couples that we know, okay? In the end, the researchers concluded different parameters or variables for masters or disaster relationships with over 90% accuracy. It's so accurate that they claimed that with the information concluded from their study, which I'm about to share with you instantly, by observing a couple in a disagreement for just 15 minutes, they could predict the end of their relationship with 85% accuracy. The first parameter they found is the ratio of positive versus negative things during a conflict. Positive things mean being affectionate, being kind, listening with respect, empathy. Negative things are like criticism, anger, hurt feelings, or simply not paying attention. The masters had a ratio of about 5:1, 5 times more positive things during a conflict or conflict resolution than negative. This actually suggests that if you did something bad, you would need to make up for it with 5 times more positive things, okay? Now, in the couples that ended up getting a divorce, or the disasters, the ratio was 0.8 to 1. So there is actually just a little bit more negativity than positivity in their conflict resolutions. So we can conclude that with the disasters, there's no climate of affection, there's no love, and there's no respect. The researchers found what they called the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. 4 issues or findings that they found to be the most predictive to end up in a divorce, and they were, of course, the main characteristics of the disastrous relationships and the opposite of how the masters behaved. Listen carefully for these 4 horsemen, as they are highly predictive of where your relationship is going, and you can find key principles for your own spiritual and personal growth inside your relationship right here. Horseman number 1. When in conflict, the disasters try to kick the responsibility of the conflict to the other side. They were actually saying that you are the problem. They called the first horseman criticism. Criticism is a way to suggest that your partner's personality is defective or even flawed. The masters are still complaining one about the other, but instead of criticizing, they are talking about themselves and what they actually need, their emotional needs. For example, if the wife feels that the husband doesn't give her enough affection, then in the disasters, she might say something like, "You're so selfish, you don't spend any more time with me." While the masters, she would say something like, "I feel a little bit lonely lately, and I could really use some more together time with you." There's so many examples just like this, where we put more criticism on each other instead of just talking about the way that we feel. I personally know this from the NVC, nonviolent communication, that I've learned and I've taught, and you can find it in one of my other NVC videos. So in the first horseman of criticism, the disasters that were criticizing used sentences more like, "What's wrong with you?" or "You do this all the time." And this would actually end up just fueling up the fire, as to any criticism, the immediate reaction is defensiveness, with more criticism, of course. And of course, that brings me to the second horseman, defensiveness. The researchers found that there are actually 2 ways to become defensive in a couple during a conflict. The first they called righteous indignation. This means that we are actually meeting a complaint with a counter-complaint. The second way to become defensive is to act like an innocent victim, and that means to whine. This will probably sound something like, "But I do my best to meet your needs," or "But darling, I love you so much, I would never do anything to hurt your feelings," or "I simply don't have the time to give you what you need." So this type of defensive behavior belongs to the disastrous relationships. Now, what do the masters do? It's simple. They accept responsibility even for a small part of the problem. So the masters will actually say something like, You know something, darling? You're probably right. I had a stressful week at work and I neglected to spend more time with you. How about we schedule a night out tomorrow? The third horseman was disrespect and contempt. Now, contempt is very different from criticism because in contempt, you actually feel superior to your partner and you're being stuck up to them. Contempt, apparently, was the single best predictor the researchers had for divorce or a breakup. Now, let's say you feel that you are smarter than your partner, or cleaner, or more developed spiritually. You're probably going to talk down to your partner in a "I've been there" type of way, or "you have a long way to go" type of intonation, okay? And you're probably not going to notice that you're actually doing this quite often, but you will know that you see them as less in certain things than you know yourself to be better at, okay? And this is something that we do as human beings. It's very natural for us. And the way people usually feel contemptuous one towards the other is by calling each other names or even directly insulting them. It will sound something like, "Haven't you learned to be more patient with the kids? Look at how I do it." Or something like, "You're such a jerk sometimes." Or, "I wish that you would be different." Or, "You're such a klutz." So what is it that the masters are doing that is the alternate of contempt? What is the opposite of disrespect? Well, it's not about doing nothing or avoiding contempt. It's creating, within the relationship, a culture of appreciation. They are appreciative of small things and they make it clear to their partner. So even though there is someone smarter, there is someone cleaner or more punctual within the couple, there is always appreciation between the two of them. Something like, "Thank you for picking up the kids," or "Thank you for washing the dishes even though it was your turn," or something like, "I enjoyed our conversation," or "I watched you playing with a baby last night and it was beautiful," or "I wish I was such a good multitasker like you are." Just things like that. That's the culture of appreciation. And the way the researchers observe the masters build this culture of appreciation is that they build a habit of mind to scan the environment and the relationship for things to appreciate instead of things to criticize. The fourth and the final horseman of the apocalypse they called stonewalling. And that actually means an emotional withdrawal from conflict. So when people have a conversation, usually they give each other signals that they're tracking one another, saying like "aha" or looking in the eyes or nodding or just moving our body just a little bit. It shows that they're actually there and they're a part of the conversation, like moving our face towards the person or looking them in the eye. Stonewallers don't do that. They might look away, they might close up their body, they might shift their attention to their phone or to the TV screen, hoping that the other side just disappears some way, and magically the conflict will come to a resolution without them. The speaker then feels that they're not getting through to them, their emotional needs are not being met. That of course creates the opposite effect, so they raise their voice, they throw more energy into the conversation because they know that they're not being heard. I don't have to tell you what the masters do to stonewallers. They engage, they converse, they show that they are actually there through the conflict with a sensation of we can get through this together, we can get through anything together. So those were the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Those are the pitfalls to avoid. Those are the things to master if we want to have a happy and long-lasting relationship. Be the masters, not the disasters. I'll say it again. Criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. And before I end the video, I just want you to know another statistic that they found during this 30-year-long scientific study that was done on married couples. They found that 69% of all conflicts remain unsolved. And what does that mean to us? It means that when we bind ourselves to someone, we're taking the whole package. It means that someone that we bind ourselves to, they're not going to change, and we are not going to change. It means that 70% of the things that we are in conflict about are never going to get resolved. So it means we just need to accept our partner as they are, and to accept the fact that there are differences between us that are never going to find the end. We're not going to convince them, and they're not going to convince us. So what we can do about it is just have humor about it, you know? Have humor instead of arguing about the same thing over and over again. Accept the fact that we're never going to win and we're never going to lose. Namaste, my friends. Happy marriages and long relationships. I'm yours. I love you. I'll see you in my next video.